I want us, brothers and sisters, to be reminded of the Easter program this year has fallen on the 21st of this month. Let us not forget that it is coming, and of course, it's a time that is very important in the Christian calendar. And this year, like I said before, again, it has coincided with the Passover, and we'll be having the Lord's Supper. Praise the Lord. The communion service and foot washing on the 19th. Remember that 4 p.m. Praise the Lord. We'll be having that service, and I pray that we will all be here. We thank God for those who have moved out of town. So, brothers and sisters, after saying that, today I want us to continue and to actually properly round up, as we started to round up last week, praise the Lord, of the book of Revelations. I want us to properly round up on the book of Revelations. I'm drawing up here a conclusion to all the things we've looked at. And I don't think that this conclusion will stop today. Probably we'll still do it next week. Praise the Lord. Because there are so many things that we need to still revise as far as the book of Revelations is concerned. And today, I've titled today's message, A Midwife as a Discerner and Custodian for the Future. Praise the Lord. A midwife as a discerner and custodian for the future. This is as part of our conclusions on the book of Revelation. Today again, we will take our readings from the book of Revelation and two other scriptures. I want to draw up one or two to raise one or two issues. And one of the issues, number one, is the presence of God's church on earth as key to his return. These are some of the conclusions that we see in the book of Revelation. Praise the Lord. Some of the key points. We're going to raise some key points as far as the book of Revelation is concerned. What are the things that we see that are clear, that can give us some doctrinal basis, praise the Lord, for whatever theology that we are going to formulate as far as the book of Revelation is concerned? And that number one point that we see in the book of Revelations is the presence of God's church on earth as key to his return. And that we see in Revelations 1 and 2. Praise the Lord. Revelations 1 and 2. Number two is the resilience and perseverance of the church as key to its salvation, even though Christ has saved it. Praise the Lord. Resilience and perseverance of the church on earth as key to its salvation, even though Christ has saved the church. Praise the Lord. Now, these are the themes. These are themes that we see. I'm not trying to create a theology of soteriology, as it were, or salvation. Praise the Lord. I am just telling you what I see, praise the Lord, in the book of Revelations. Number three, it is true that the church is representing Christ. Praise the Lord. It is true that the church as representing Christ may never be accepted in the world as part of it. And so, there is less likelihood of the world government set up under a true apostle of Jesus Christ before Christ returns. Praise the Lord. Now, these are some of the points that we see. There is no allusion, what I'm trying to say here is that there is no allusion to a leader that will precede the Messiah. Praise the Lord. The return of Christ. No such allusion. Praise the Lord. Well, if you see it in the book of Revelation, please call my attention to it. Praise the Lord. There is no allusion to one leader that will precede the return of Christ or formulate any world government on behalf of Christ. Praise the Lord. Number 4. The more I look into the prophecy in the book of Revelation and current events, the more I know that for us to be able to do even the evangelism we consider paramount, world domination must be partly our goal. Praise the Lord. History has shown it, prophecy alludes to it, current reality reeks with it. Praise the Lord. I hope you understand what I'm saying. That as we evangelize, what is our goal as we are evangelizing? Praise the Lord. Our goal is to what? Make disciples of Jesus Christ all over the what? The world. That is in Matthew chapter what? 28. Is that not? Praise the Lord. Matthew 28. Our goal is to make disciples of all nations. And so there is the concept of a world outreach, a world dominant outreach. Praise the Lord. Now, the problem with the Christian church is that we are not fully able to grasp that the battle is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. We always underestimate their capacity while easily succumbing to the source of our weakness, which is materialism, and then ignoring our strength, which is holiness. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. We are yet to fully understand the nature of the battle, even though we say it every day. And because of that, we magnify our weakness and we downplay our strength. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. And so these are some of the issues that we see arising from the book of Revelation. We see this arising from the book of Revelation. The presence of the church, very important, praise the Lord. It's a spiritual church, but it must have physical presence on the earth. And if you watch events very closely, the aim of Satan is to make sure there is no physical church. Praise the Lord. To make sure that there are no Christians on the earth. So we see that very clear. We see resilience and perseverance as a very strong factor. But we see the problem is that when we face persecution and we face problems, we always say, it's not by strength, not by power. we seek solace in these scriptures. Say, not by power, not by might, but it's by the just forget about it. But we see throughout the book of Revelation that this is key to the theology behind Revelations. Praise the Lord. Perseverance, resilience. Oh, yes, it is true. The church may never be accepted. Praise the Lord. That is a thing. And also, there is no issue of one leader or apostle that will rule the church in place of Christ or before Christ comes. Praise the Lord. There is no such issue. So how? The thing that always that is challenging us as we look at this book of Revelation is that, but how do we mix that with the issue of evangelism and making disciples all over the world? Praise the Lord. And in fact, when you look at it, because Satan does not want to see Christians on earth, it makes it even harder to evangelize if there are no disciples on earth. Praise the Lord. So the challenge is to make sure that there are disciples, Christians all over the world. And so that concept of world domination will always be there, no matter how we want to avoid it. And we are aware that it is a spiritual battle. Praise the name of the Lord. So as we look at all these things, I've just gone through that again to give us a beginning to what we're going to be looking at. How do we deal with these issues? How do we deal with these issues? We're going to be looking at the concept of the midwife, praise the Lord, in the Bible. And we're going to x-ray what is that peculiar quality, praise the Lord, of the midwife that we can really harness, praise the Lord, that will actually help us to solve some of these problems, or to at least attack some of these challenges that we see arising from the book of Revelation. Praise the Lord. What are the qualities of a midwife? And we're going to be tracing the concept of a midwife through the Bible. And we'll see the peculiar quality that a midwife needs to bridge the gap. Praise the Lord. And become what God wants her to become. Let me give us the scriptures that we are going to be taking here. We will be reading Exodus chapter 1, verse 15 to 22. We'll be reading Revelations 12, 1 to 2, and Genesis 35, 1 to 20. Praise the Lord. So can somebody please open Genesis 35, 1 to 20? That's a longer one. Then Exodus 1, verse 15 to 22. I will be reading some of these scriptures, and then Revelations 12, verse 1 to 3. Also, we'll be reading some of these scriptures, and we will see that quality of a midwife that will help us. Exodus chapter 1, verse 15. Exodus chapter 1, verse 15. It's a very interesting study we're going to be doing here as part of the conclusion of the book of Revelation.
Chapter 1, verse 15.
Yes.